Hello, my name is Mr. Chipman. This is Unit 4 of AP Environmental Science. I normally teach AP Biology and Biology at Murray High School in Murray, Kentucky, but here we are with AP Environmental Science 4.2, Soil Formation and Erosion. I like talking about this stuff. It's pretty cool. Let's talk about the soil formation. So we talk about this in ecology class, right? We talk about how everything starts as rock, right? Primary succession. And so where does that come from? Well, there's this stuff called parent material. Parent material is usually the bedrock. Could be some deposited material that soil develops from. But this is sort of the beginning, right? Beginning of soil. Weathering takes place on the soil. Other physical breakdown can take place from mosses and lichens, which are called pioneer species, right? Any sort of exposure, the soil is going to slowly break down over time. Now, this is going to take time, we're going to look at too, and then that soil is then transported via water or wind or glaciers or gravity, even redistributing, weathering. This is a picture of that happening, where you can just sort of like have a mud flow. Well, okay, that all of a sudden causes some stuff, right? Changes everything. And this formation, another word too, before I mention that, is the word deposition. You'll see that word, and think if the word deposit is in there, right? You can think of the soil just sort of being distributed or depositing from rain or something like that. You can see over here on the right, there's some different things that attribute or contribute to soil formation. Time being a big one of those. Topography has to do with like how high or low the land is. Organisms, of course, dying. Climate, all those things are going to contribute to soil formation. So let's look at this thing called soil horizons. Horizons, these are like soil layers, right? And they're very established sorts of ideas. And so let's look at them. The first one is the O horizon. This is the organic layer. Leaves, any sort of decomposing material, currently living material count obviously is that as well. And so that's the organic layer, or O. That's one of the rare treats among the horizons that actually is the same letter as what the word is. The rest of them don't give us, or most of them don't give us that kind of treat. The A horizon is the topsoil. I guess you could remember this as the, I don't know how you could remember this. It's A, so it's at the top, but not at the very top. This is the topsoil. This has got minerals, organic matter, typically considered biologically alive, meaning that it's got microorganisms and that sort of thing, roots from plants. You can see that on this picture pretty clearly. The E horizon is called the elevation layer. What's happening in the elevation layer is this is where leaching is occurring. So it's pulling from, and that's the word elevation, it's pulling minerals from the other layer. This is where things like iron and aluminum, heavier things, are going to be washed downward into the soil from rain and that sort of thing. That's going to happen. That's where you get the idea of leaching as well. You're going to have some organic matter down here too. Plants and that sort of thing are going to be like not plants, but pieces of plants, roots, that sort of thing. That's the E, elevation, so we get that. Leaching, if you like that word better. There's the L in elevation. I don't know how you can remember this. You do. Subsoil, sub, B. This is the B layer, accumulation of leached materials. A lot of clay in this area. We're going to talk about clay moving forward in another section. And this is how the soil is getting more compacted in this area because of the density of materials in the subsoil. And C, this is parent material that is being weathered. Right? And you're like, well, how's it being weathered? It's just being broken down over time because of its location. There's going to be very little organic matter in this part because you're getting closer to bedrock, and then bedrock is R horizon. Well, yeah, R horizon, which is unweathered bedrock. And so you have O, A, E, B, C, R in that order. There's probably some fun sentence you could come up with. Yeah. Let's talk about soil erosion. So there are lots of things that cause a soil to erode. Here it looks like it rained for, maybe there's a big heavy rain or something that came in and washed these trenches, and these trenches get more entrenched the more rain that comes in, right? Wind can also remove topsoil, usually removing fine particles from the area. Human activities, removing trees, that sort of thing. Trees normally keep soil in place because of the roots, right? Overgrazing can do that, which may be what you see here as well. Any kind of poor farming practices. Farmers don't want this, so most farmers are in tune with that sort of thing, because you don't want the topsoil to wash away, because you can't plant stuff in non-organic soil, right? And so you want that topsoil to be there. The topsoil is fertile, so soil erosion causes a loss of that. Obviously, this is going to degrade water. This is going to degrade water quality as well, as those soils they're just not present. So the soils act as filters for the water as well. So it's very important to protect the soil. A couple ways that are do this: obviously, vegetation, any sort of cover like grass. Even grass is a great deterrent for erosion. Sustainable practices like contour, farming, terracing. We're going to talk about terracing in a future section as well. On the right there, the small picture, you see like a windbreak. Those trees, I grew up calling them fence rows, which is the same idea. Windbreak, it just keeps the wind out of the field, particularly in this part of the world where the soils tend to be sandier, more across the river where I grew up. But and a wind can really take topsoil away quickly. And so these windbreaks are very helpful. Great Plains, you see a lot of the windbreaks as well. And the soils are, again, they're very important because it does filter water and allow us to have drinking water and all that sort of thing. So soil, very important. Let's look at some examples of erosion that are important. This is the great Dust Bowl of the 1930s, wind erosion from overplowed and overworked land. It was just sort of this perfect storm that kind of came together. The drought conditions were horrible. The land was not in good shape, and it just made things really horrible. It was a famine for a long time, and took a long time to recover from the Great Dust Bowl. It's a fantastic picture, though the people standing in this picture probably don't think it's so fantastic. Interesting time period of history if you like to read that sort of thing. And this is a picture of the Loess soils from China. I had to look this up. Loess is one way to pronounce that. I think there's Luz, you could also pronounce it that way. This is deposited silt. It's wind deposited, so think like snowdrift, but soil. What's interesting about this is it's very fertile, right? But it's also very shifty, right? It's hard to sort of nail down, and so it's easily eroded without elevation, or without vegetation, excuse me. So it's an interesting sort of land management proposition there in this parts of China, in this Loess Plateau. So just interesting, never read about that before. A great example of soil conservation. Let's look at a practice problem. A researcher wants to study the effect of vegetation cover on soil erosion by water. This looks like a experiment design kind of question. It's good. She sets up 20 plots on a hillside. That's a lot of work. 10 with grass, 10 left bare. After a rainstorm, she measures the mass of the soil lost from each plot. Which of the following best describes the design feature that makes this a controlled experiment? Okay, so this is less about the content and more about, it's using the content to promote just good science practice, right? And so what is the design feature that makes this a controlled experiment? Well, you have one thing that what are you measuring? Vegetation, right? You're measuring, or the effect of vegetation on soil. How are you measuring that? By change of mass. And what is the variable that's being changed here? The grass cover, right? So it's a good controlled experiment. So let's look at that. Let's find that in ABCD. The researcher uses paired plots differing only in the presence or absence of vegetation. I like A. I'm not even going to read the other ones. A is the correct answer. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to be doing 4.3.